Hi there. My name is Hope Jumville. I'm the LGBTQ+ project lead with the Edmonton Federation of Community Leagues, and this is part 2 of the Identity Education video series talking about the different LGBTQ+ identities. This video will cover the identities of transgender, non-binary, and will touch on the ideas of gender nonconforming and genderqueer. Important facts to know about gender. First, there's a major difference between gender and sex. Oftentimes they're used interchangeably, but this isn't really accurate. Biological sex is usually the basis of someone's assigned gender or gender identity, just as a side note. Talking about the difference between sex and gender, sex is biological. It's based off sex characteristics such as genitals and hormones that are present at birth. This is the exterior genitalia and the interior genitalia, just as an example. Gender is social and mental. It's what we wear, how we act, and more importantly, how we identify for ourselves. Gender is also assigned to us. Bring up the earlier point of biological sex being the basis for gender. Generally, when someone sees you as a baby or a doctor sees you as a baby, they will assign a gender to you based off your sex. This is known as biological determinism, in which the idea that our biology determines our gender. This is not a true theory, and it is actually not correct. That will be touched on later. Gender expression and gender identity are two really important things to understand when talking about gender. Gender identity refers to how someone feels about themselves. If they say they're a man or a woman, this is their gender identity. However, how they act, how they look, and whether or not in line with this gender is their gender expression. This is what they do to express that gender identity. Someone can identify one way and present another, and that still be totally okay. This can be seen in women wearing more masculine or more male-considered clothes, or men wearing something that's considered far more female. In essence, gender identity is who you are, and gender expression is how you make that look. The gender binary is the final important thing to talk about. The gender binary refers to how, when someone refers to a man or woman or male-female, they're essentially referring to the gender binary. The gender binary is the idea that there are only two definitive genders, man and woman, with no gray area at all. In reality, gender exists as a spectrum with plenty of gray area and diversity present. No one is a cookie cutter cutout of man and woman. There's difference in femininity, masculinity, or neither. The idea of there being more than just man and woman will be touched on in just a moment. So let's talk about the identities. As I said before, the main two we're talking about is transgender and non-binary. However, there will be a discussion about genderqueer and gender nonconforming. Transgender refers to someone whose gender identity does not align with the one they were assigned at birth. Non-binary refers to someone whose gender identity falls outside of the gender binary and does not conform to the gender binary. Due to the nature of this identity, it is always that it's different from the one assigned at birth. Genderqueer is rather similar, though we use more as a catch-all term for other smaller gender identities. Again, it refers to someone who feels their gender does not fit within the gender binary and its norms. Gender nonconforming refers to a person whose behavior or appearance does not conform to the culture and social norms about what their gender should do. This would be considered someone who is male identified, painting their nails, and wearing a dress. This is not necessarily referred to a queer identity or transgender or non-binary, but it has happened often with trans and non-binary folk. These are final things to know about these identities. First thing to say is what cisgender means. Cisgender is really the opposite of transgender, in which cisgender refers to someone whose gender identity does align with the one they were assigned at birth. Majority of people are cisgender. Cisgender is not a slur or an offensive term for those who are trans. Rather, it's just again referring to those whose gender identity is not different from the one they were assigned. The word transgender is not a noun. It's not a verb. It's a noun. Someone can be transgender, but someone is not transgendered. As well, people do not become transgender. They are transgender and they transition. Transsexual and transvestite were two more common terms in the past that have fallen out with trans people in recent years. As of now, they're more likely to cause discomfort or displeasure among those who do identify that. If someone identifies that themselves, that is okay, but if someone does not, it's best to avoid referring to them that. There's a major importance in the use of pronouns and names. If someone tells you the preferred pronouns, saying they identify as he, him, or she, her, and they say a preferred name, please refer to them as those, no matter what, even if there isn't a legal basis. For more information about the importance of pronouns and names, please check out the EFCL pop-up video on this topic. Gender fluidity is often a common thing among those who may be transgender, non-binary, or genderqueer. Gender is very confusing, and people can struggle with their identity for a long time. The important thing about this is that to be supportive of this person. Every person and their identity is valid, and they have no obligation to stick with the first thing that seems to kind of be all right. And finally, it's important to talk about the respect for the privacy of a trans person's transition and the process they're going through. First thing to note, a person's transition is not simply the surgery being gender reassignment surgery. There are far more steps to this, and what they choose to do what a person may choose to do is up to them. As well, a lot of trans people choose not to get the surgery or may not need it. The steps they take is up to them and can cover just simply changing their presentation to full medical transition. It's important to be polite about this sort of thing. Someone's transition is personal information and often is close to home. And asking questions just to simply satisfy your curiosity is oftentimes not enjoyable and makes that person extremely uncomfortable. It does not need to be discussed simply to satisfy your curiosity, and it's up to them to decide what they tell you. I hope this video has been informative and has taught you more about the identities of transgender and non-binary. Thank you.